Hello everyone. Today, we'll be seeing how fast Porygon, or I'm sorry, the P word, can beat Pokemon Crystal in a solo run challenge. Let's get straight into the video. Earlier in the month, we played through the game with Quagsire, and it actually did pretty dang good, unlike how it performed in Pokemon Heart Gold, because in that game, oh god, it was bad, all thanks to Red's Venusaur. But this Pokemon Porygon, I think it'll do pretty good. Earlier in the year, I actually played with Porygon 2, and it did relatively okay. But we need to take a quick look at the stats. We have 65 HP, 60 attack, 70 defense, 75 special attack and special defense, as well as 40 speed. I do not like how slow we are, and our offensive stats are not that great. And we are in the medium fast level up group, which doesn't really do us any favors. But you never know, maybe the moveset can make up for it. We actually start with 3 moves: Conversion, Conversion 2, and Tackle. And then at level 12 we get Psybeam. Oh, also Agility at level 9. If we hold on to Agility the entire game, we could pair it with the move Curse for Red. So that way we can get plus 6 attack, plus 6 defense, plus 6 speed. And then after that we get Recover at level 20, and then Sharpen, Lock On, Tri-Attack, and Zap Cannon. Honestly, with the move Sharpen, we probably don't need Curse, but if we truly need the defense boost, then maybe. But at least Psybeam at level 12 is pretty dang good. And if we take a quick look at the TM set, this is pretty similar to Porygon in Generation 1. It gets quite a decent bit of move variety. We get Blizzard and Ice Beam and Icy Wind. We also get Zap Cannon, Thunder, and Thunderbolt, as well as Iron Tail and Psychic, as well as Thief if we need Dark-type coverage. And funnily enough, we learn Nightmare even though we don't know a sleep move, which is pretty questioning at best. And also, I should probably explain the difference between Conversion and Conversion 2. Let's stare at this thing's awfully creepy back sprite while I talk about this. Conversion basically turns your type into a type that the move last used by your opponent resists. So for example, if the opponent hit me with a grass type move and I use Conversion, I could turn into a fire type, I could turn into a grass type, I could turn into a bug type, because all those typings resist grass. And Conversion 2 actually changes your own typing into a random one of your moves' type. So for example, if I have 4 different moves, each of a different type, and one of those types was Psychic, Conversion 2 would have a 25% chance of making my type Psychic. You can obviously manipulate this with your moveset, but why would I do that? It's so sad because Conversion in Gen 1 was actually pretty good. It turned your typing into the typing of the opponent. It was very useful for Brock. But even though it's not as useful, at least it'll have some uses, at least Conversion 1. And also, technically in Gold and Silver and Crystal, the Sprout Tower is optional, so I don't have to go in here, but I would like the extra training, plus getting Flash at the top is actually going to have a very niche use at the end of the run. But having the extra experience in the short term is the main benefit. So with all the training done, let's go beat Faulkner, shall we? Let's see how this fight goes. Faulkner leads off with Pidgey. I now have Psybeam on the moveset, and then I can actually use Conversion 2. Since I got hit with Tackle, I became a Rock type. It doesn't show on the overlay. But on the bright side, it does make me resist it, but I end up having to use Conversion 2 again because I realized it would be spamming Mud Slap. So that would have been pretty annoying. But fortunately, I do win on the first try. So hey, at least Conversion 2 has some uses. And with Faulkner defeated, I can head down through Route 31 and enter the Union Cave. And also, as soon as I enter Azalea Town, I'm not going to enter the Slowpoke Well just yet. I'm actually going to go in the Ilex Forest to catch myself 2 Pokemon, a Psyduck and a Paras. The Paras will be for Cut, and the Psyduck will be for Surf, Strength, Waterfall, and Whirlpool. I don't really bother going for the Psyduck because of how rare it is. I was trying to find a Cut user, but I ended up finding the Psyduck first. So that was honestly pretty lucky. At least I don't need the Krabby or the Dratini. But anyway, having access to Psybeam is going to make all the Rocket Grunts in the Slowpoke Well completely trivial. It's not even going to matter. But I am kinda worried about Bugsy though, because this Pokemon does not have good damage output. But let's take a look. Bugsy leads off with his Metapod. I go for Psybeam, doing the 2-shot. All it does is use Harden. Then on the Kakuna, it is an obvious 1-shot. I get to level 17, and last up is the Scyther. I'm just going to go ahead and use one Psybeam, and then as it uses Fury Cutter, I use Conversion 2 to turn into the Steel type, but unfortunately, it ends up not being enough, and I would have ended up dying, but Psybeam actually gets the 10% confused, or it's 20%, I don't remember, but the point is, it confuses the target, Scyther hits itself, resetting the Fury Cutter cycle, and because of that, I'm able to win on the first try. So that was pretty dang lucky. I probably should have used some agilities on the Metapod. That probably would have made the fight a little bit safer. But fortunately also, the Rival 2 fight in this town can be difficult sometimes because the Quilava likes to spam Smokescreen, but I don't have any problems there, and before I continue heading up to Goldenrod, I realized I forgot Swift in the Union Cave, so I go ahead and backtrack for that really quick because this thing does not learn Headbutt, so I'm going to have to get Swift until I get access to Return. And also, once I make it to Goldenrod City in the underground section, as I'm fighting the 3 Magnemite 1 Voltorb trainer, I get to level 20 and learn the move Recover. I teach this move in the place of Conversion 2 because honestly, I don't see Conversion 2 being useful anymore. However though, Porygon is still not a good Pokemon and its stats are not that great, so I am going to go ahead and fight a lot of the optional trainers right before the National Park. And then after I talk to Floria right here, I actually quickly beat this Psychic here with the 2 Abras and 1 Kadabra for some decent XP, and then I teleport back to Goldenrod. This was kind of a mistake. I should have went inside the National Park and get the Quick Claw because of how slow we are. It would have been a pretty useful held item to equip, but oh well, I'm pretty sure we can beat Whitney without the Quick Claw. I can always backtrack to get it. Whitney leads off with her metronome spamming Clefairy. I use 2 Sharpens on it, which I learned via level up, and all it does is metronome Skull Bash. That just gives me more time. Then on the Miltank, I'm going to use 1 Agility, and then knock it out with 2 uses of Swift. At least Whitney was pretty easy. And with Whitney defeated, not only do I get a 12.5% badge boost to my speed, which is pretty useful, but also a 12.5% boost to my normal type moves. This is going to be helpful for a wide variety of reasons. Plus, Faulkner's badge boosts your attack stat, so obviously these go hand in hand. And as soon as Whitney is defeated, I can get the Squirt Bottle, make the Sudowoodo run away from me and hop over the trees, and get to Ekruteak City. The first thing I do is defeat the 5 Kimono Girls and get the HM for Surf. And also, I'm not going to fight Morty just yet because if I don't have at least 53 speed, I believe the number is, I won't be able to outspeed everything except the Gengar. I want to at least outspeed the Ghastly and his first Haunter because they both have Curse, so I'm actually going to do a lot of the training towards the Lake of Rage to the east. These trainers are actually pretty dang good, although it probably would have been more productive to actually do the Lighthouse training first, because even though the Lighthouse training isn't as good, it's all mandatory anyway, so it wouldn't have really cost that much time. But at the very end of the Lake of Rage, I can go ahead and also get the TM for Hidden Power. You want to know what my Hidden Power typing is? Well, you're going to have to wait until I eventually use it, because it is not on my overlay. I don't remember, I did this run a while ago. But as soon as I start using it, I'll immediately know what it is. But anyway, before we take on Morty, we do have to take on the Rival, and I don't think he's going to be that bad. The Rival leads off with Haunter. It does outspeed and go for Curse, because it outspeeds me by 1 point, which is pretty irritating. And then next up is the Magnemite. It does less than half with Psybeam, and switching to Swift doesn't really change anything, so I'm like, you know what? This isn't worth it. I think it would be a great idea to do the training towards the Lighthouse as well, because if I can't outspeed the Rival's Haunter, there is no way I'm outspeeding Morty's Haunter. And besides, this training is mandatory anyway. I only ended up doing a little bit of training though. I didn't go completely through the Lighthouse, although I probably should have. But anyway, with the Rival defeated, I can enter Morty's gym and spam Hidden Power on the Ghastlies, and it is super effective, which means our Hidden Power typing is actually going to be Hidden Power Psychic, because since I taught this in the place of Psybeam, this will actually be a more powerful Psychic move. Basically 70 power compared to 65 with Psybeam, but honestly, I think all the base power will add up. So why don't we go test out this new move on Morty. Morty leads off with his first Ghastly. I have 50 speed, which means I outspeed the first Ghastly, and I outspeed the first Haunter. Those are the ones that have Curse on their moveset. And unfortunately, on the Gengar, I knew it was going to survive, but it actually puts me to sleep with Hypnosis, which is 45% accurate when the opponent uses it due to some debuffs that they have. And I was asleep for roughly 4 turns. This allows Dream Eater to do so much damage. But fortunately for me, I do wake up just in time, and I'm able to defeat it and the final Haunter. And since I didn't do this earlier, I do walk back to Olivine City and clear out the lighthouse really quick. And when the lighthouse is cleared out, I can go head my way towards Cianwood City. I do accidentally encounter the spinner Kaylee, who has 2 Goldeen and a Sea King. It's really annoying when I end up encountering her because she's a random spinner, but honestly, at least she's good XP, so I'm not going to complain, because the next gym coming up is Chuck. This is another great spot for Hidden Power Psychic to be useful. I also do some of the other trainers in the water, including this one trainer with 2 Gyarados. And by the time I enter Chuck's gym, I am level 34. And for some reason on the Hitmonlee, I actually misclicked and go for Swift instead of Hidden Power Psychic. So because of that, I end up getting a reset. But fortunately for me, when I actually use the right moves, either that or just get downright lucky, the fight ends up not being that bad. But why don't we go see how Chuck does, because he is going to be very random for this thing. He's either going to hit Dynamic Punch or just miss. We'll see. Chuck leads off with a Primeape. It does outspeed me by 3. I go ahead and use 1 Sharpen and then knock it out with Swift. Next up is the Poliwrath. I go ahead and use Swift, and it looks like it's going to be a 2-shot, but unfortunately the Poliwrath hits me with Dynamic Punch. I mean, that's to be expected. Chuck on the second try, however, ends up going my way, and I am able to dodge Dynamic Punch and do the clean 2-shot with Swift on the Poliwrath. So far, Porygon has been doing relatively okay. Porygon has not been good in Generation 1, but who knows, maybe Generation 2 could be its uprising, but I'm very doubtful. And also, before I go fight the Gyarados at the Lake of Rage, I actually head south of Goldenrod City and defeat these 3 cool trainers that are hidden away, because once I defeat them, I will actually get the Soft Sand. This will boost the power of Ground-type moves by 10%. But the funny thing is, I don't even learn a Ground-type move. I literally just fought them just for the training, because their Pokemon are surprisingly good. However though, the Pokemon that the Rockets have in the Rocket Hideout Mahogany are not that good. This section usually is never that interesting, so we're just going to skip ahead to the 7th gym leader, Price. And by 7th I mean the 6th. Most of the time Jasmine's the 7th, but you know what I mean. Chronologically the 7th gym. Anyway, let's go fight Price. Price leads off with his Seal. I go ahead and use 1 Sharpen on it as it hits me with Icy Wind, and Icy Wind does not lower my speed. Fun fact, the opponents have a 25% debuff in secondary effects. So for example, there's a 25% chance Icy Wind does not lower my speed. And then on the Piloswine, fortunately, it pulls a Bruno move and goes for Fury Attack instead of Blizzard, so I am able to survive. And also, I may have said Hidden Power Psychic earlier. I absolutely did. This was actually incorrect. You see how I'm holding the Soft Sand? My actual Hidden Power typing is Hidden Power Ground. So that way, we actually have a great move that we use with Sharpen. So honestly, sorry for the misinformation, but honestly, I really need to find a way to fit Hidden Power typing on my Gen 2 overlay, because this is basically a copy and paste of the Gen 1 overlay. I've got to find a spot for it, but I'll figure that out in the new year sometime. Or better yet, if I wasn't doing these voiceovers 7 months in the future, I probably would have a better time remembering this stuff. But anyway, let's go take on Jasmine. She leads off with Magnemite, and obviously I'm gonna go for Hidden Power Ground, but I do go for 1 Sharpen first. And honestly, I should have equipped a Paralysis Cure Berry first, but I don't think it's going to be that bad. When the Steelix comes out, Iron Tail does do decent damage, and Hidden Power Ground does less than half, and because of a Paralysis, Steelix ends up finishing me off. The exact thing keeps happening several times. I did think of equipping the Paralysis Cure Berry, but at the last minute I choose not to do it. This is honestly a pretty bad play, because in Johto, even if I need a Paralysis Cure Berry for Lance, there actually is a second Paralysis Cure Berry in Johto. It's actually south of Blackthorn City at the bottom end of the route. I should have just gotten that. Honestly, a lot of those resets at Jasmine were literally my fault. I would have been able to get away with one Sharpen setup for free, and then I could 3-shot the Steelix, and if it uses a Hyper Potion, use another Sharpen and 2-shot it. So yeah, this was pretty much my fault. But anyway, let's move on. Radio Tower, blah blah blah, no one cares. Oh look, we're at Claire. Psych, we're not going to talk about Claire right now. You know I can't skip our daily buying of vitamins. And today's Vitamin of the Day. 5 Carbos and 4 Calcium. We need all the speed we can get, plus all the special attack we can get, even though we have an all-physical learn set. Honestly, I mainly just bought Calcium for the special defense aspect of things, but I might end up using some special moves later. We'll see. Anyway, for real this time, let's go fight Claire. Claire leads off with her first of 3 Dragonairs. I have the Pink Bow equipped as well. I'm just going to try and spam return. Hopefully I don't need Sharpen. Return one-shots the first Dragonair, one-shots the second, and it one-shots the third. Okay, so we didn't need Sharpen. And as long as we can get a clean 2-shot on the Kingdra, which we do, I can go ahead and actually finish the fight. And because Claire was just spamming Smokescreen over and over again, she ends up doing no damage, and Porygon actually beats her with full HP remaining. You know what I'm realizing? If you just give this Pokemon Stab Return, it ends up being pretty dang good. I mean, Gen 1 Body Slam can only take you so far. Then I can solve the puzzle in the Dragon's Den and get the 8th badge from Claire. I don't have to worry about getting the Dratini since I found a Psyduck by luck chance. And then also, I can make my way towards the Pokemon League. I choose not to fight many trainers on the way to Victory Road, because I don't really think Porygon needs to, at least that much, because I have both Sharpen and Agility, plus Stab Return and Hidden Power Ground for coverage. I'm mainly thinking of Bruno's Onix, as well as Karen's Gengar. As well as in Victory Road, Hidden Power Ground is working wonders on the rival's Haunter and his Magneton. But anyway, we are now at the Pokemon League. I heal up at the center, buy some full restores, and now we need to go take on the final 5 trainers of Johto. Let's do this shit. The first member of the Elite Four is Will, the user of Psychic types. He leads off with Xatu, and at level 51, with the Pink Bow, Return actually does not one-shot it. That was actually kind of surprising. The reason I didn't go for Sharpen was because I was worried about a turn 1 Confuse Ray. I probably should have gotten the Bitter Berry on Route 31 instead, but honestly, using 1 Sharpen should be enough, but surprisingly it wasn't. The Slowbro was actually able to kill me. The second attempt at Will does go a lot better, despite the Exeggutor hitting me with Leech Seed, but we make it through. Next up is the Poison-type Elite Four member, Koga. Koga leads off with Ariados. I go ahead and use 2 Sharpens as he sets up 1 Double Team, but that 1 Double Team isn't going to stop me. The Venomoth can go down to a single return, and the Forretress, despite resisting return, is able to go down in 2 hits. And I can switch over to Hidden Power Ground for the Muck, and then use 1 return on the Crobat, even though I kept missing a couple of times, but not much he can do about that. Next up is the Fighting-type Elite Four member, Bruno. He leads off with Hitmontop. It likes to go for Dig, so I go ahead and use 2 Sharpens for free. And with those 2 Sharpens, I am hoping I can take care of the rest of his team pretty easily. The Hitmonlee is a one-shot, and so is the Hitmonchan, but it does get off a Mach Punch first. And then on the Machamp, I was pretty worried about it surviving, and fortunately it does not. But then on the Onix, I do misclick and use Return on it, allowing it to live, but Onix's attack stat is comparable to an Oddish, so I really shouldn't be too worried about it. Next up is the Dark-type Elite Four member, Karen. Karen leads off with Umbreon. I forgot to get the HP up in Victory Road to manipulate my HP to reduce her chances of Sand Attack by 30%, so sadly I do get hit with one. I also get hit with Confuse Ray as well, and things are really starting to go sour. By the time I get to the Vileplume, I'm at yellow health, and then I hit myself in confusion on the Vileplume, and funnily enough, the Vileplume ended up missing Stun Spore. Can I actually get a first attempt win at this? I did set up an agility. Oh right, that thing has quick attack. Well, shit. Yeah, Karen is pretty much known for doing stuff like this. It takes me until 10 resets total into the run to finally defeat Karen and move on to Lance. Lance should be easy compared to how that went. Lance leads off with his Gyarados. I'm going to use 1 agility to allow me to outspeed the Aerodactyl, and then I can just use 3 Sharpens, and for some reason he kept using Flail at full HP. Oh, Gen 2 AI. Then on his first Dragonite, it goes down to Return. The second Dragonite goes down to Return, and next up is the Aerodactyl. I'm going to have to use Return on it because Hidden Power Ground is immune, but despite it resisting, it still goes down in 1 hit. And obviously that means the Charizard will go down as well, including the final Dragonite. So with that finished, Porygon has successfully finished the Johto section of Crystal. However though, we're still not done yet. We have to go into Kanto and beat the 8 Kanto gym leaders as well. However, most of them are very easy, usually not including the final gym leader Blue. I'm going to fade out right now and go straight to Blue, unless one of the Kanto gym leaders provides a problem. Hopefully that is not the case. Unfortunately, it is the case. Not a single one of the first 7 Kanto leaders caused any problems, and I don't have any resets or blackouts. My moveset is still the same overall, and by the time I get to Blue, I am level 63. Hopefully this level is going to be good enough for Blue. Blue leads off with Pidgeot. I go ahead and use an agility turn 1, as well as use 2 Sharpens. Funnily enough, the Pidgeot does try to mirror move a Sharpen, but it's not like that's going to do it any good. Then, with +2 in my attack and +2 in my speed, Return is going to one-shot everything except the Rhydon, which I have to 2-shot with Hidden Power Ground. And fortunately, all it really does is use a turn 1 Sandstorm. He really likes to do that for some reason. But at least it chips the opponents down too, but this basically just wastes time. It's not really helpful either way. But I will say though, the Arcanine was a little scary because it does have extreme speed. If it detects the knockout, it will go for it. But I guess it didn't, as it didn't even go for extreme speed. Lucky me. And now with Blue defeated, we gotta go take on Red at Mount Silver, because that's the true end of the run. But before I do that though, I'm gonna get the final rare candy at Mount Silver right here. And then I'm supposed to teleport back to the Mount Silver Center, but I ended up teleporting back to Viridian by mistake because I forgot to heal at that center. Oops. And then before Red, I can use all of my rare candies to get straight to level 72. No need to change my moveset or anything. Red leads off with his Pikachu. I'm going to go ahead and use 1 agility for the outspeed, and I am going to have to set up some Sharpens, but there's a clear problem with that. Thunder does far too much damage, and it used Charm turn 1, which is very bad. Honestly, I should probably consider just resetting if I ever do get the turn 1 Charm, but funnily enough, on the second attempt, I'm able to set up to +1, and he just missed a Thunder. So because of that, I'm actually able to stay high in health, and I don't even have the leftovers equipped either, because I think I'm going to need every bit of damage output possible. And I do 1-hit the Espeon and 2-shot the Snorlax. The Venusaur is going to survive, but it fortunately went for Solar Beam instead of Sunny Day, which is definitely a great outcome, because otherwise the Charizard's Flamethrower definitely would have killed me. And last up is the Blastoise. I'm hoping Return's going to do enough. It doesn't, and Porygon ends up dying. When I come back into the Red fight, I decide to teach Rest in the place of Hidden Power Ground. I really do not need Hidden Power Ground. And also, do you guys remember when I said earlier that Flash was going to have a niche use? I was actually thinking of using Flash on Red to make setting up on Pikachu more consistent. Because here's the thing, I didn't know this at the time, but apparently Scott ended up doing a run with Porygon, Porygon 2, and Porygon Z in Crystal version, and he had the idea of using Flash on the Pikachu to make it more likely to miss Thunder and make it easier to set up. However though, I actually don't think I knew this strat at the time. I ended up just going back to Celadon City and getting the leftovers instead, thinking that was going to do enough. But the thing is, even with the leftovers, this fight is still very inconsistent. But if I had known about the Flash strategy at the time, I could have just used 1 agility and then probably 3 flashes on the Pikachu, and then just set up like 4 sharpens or something to get to a net gain of +2. But either way though, 17 resets into the run, I do defeat Red and clock in, with a real time of 1 hour, 26 minutes, and 57 seconds, with no blackouts, 17 resets at level 73, with a game time of 5 hours and 3 minutes. Honestly, this Pokemon definitely did better than I thought, but it really struggled at Red and at Karen. I think the struggle at Karen was pretty much my fault for not using an HP up to increase the odds just a little bit, to prevent the Umbreon from using Sand Attack as often, because she doesn't like using Sand Attack when you're not at full HP, but she occasionally does. And also, the Red fight just went completely sour. But then again, I did not know about the Flash strat at the time of recording this. However though, if we take a quick look at the leaderboard, this Pokemon unfortunately was not able to make the top 10. This thing can definitely do better in this game, and I do plan to re-rank it at some point because Porygon in Gen 2 is actually pretty decent, but Generation 1 I really do not like it. I'm sure you guys know this by now. But anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more. And be sure to follow me on my socials or support the channel through YouTube memberships. YouTube members not only get access to the patch files for all the backport Pokemon we do on stream, as well as members-only videos. Whenever I record a re-rank or a first-time playthrough on my Discord server, it will be recorded and uploaded to this channel as members only. So if you miss it, or you just want some more content to listen to, you can go ahead and actually become a member today. It's actually worth it, trust me, you're going to get a lot of value out of it. But anyway, tomorrow, we've got a great video coming up. Remember earlier in the month where we did Pokemon Emerald with Deoxys Attack versus Deoxys Defense? Well, tomorrow we're going to do Deoxys Normal versus Deoxys Speed forms. That run is actually going to be pretty dang interesting. Anyway, I will see you all tomorrow as we continue Daily December.